Catalonia, the northeastern region of Spain, touching the French border and home to the famous city of Barcelona, wants to leave Spain. So, how did it all start? Well, there are many reasons why Catalonia considers itself different from the rest of Spain, and this is not the first time they have made a call for independence. Before even beginning, I think it is important to know that much of the reason behind demanding a separate statehood all around the world has been related to historical, territorial, political, and economic perspective. So we will go through some of these reasons and get a glimpse of why Catalonia wants to split from Spain. Although many of the reasons were categorically dismissed without giving too much of thought by the Spanish politics, yet they remain as a legitimate concern among the Catalonian people. Alright, let's start with a little historical perspective. This region of Portugal and Spain forms the southwest peninsula of Europe. There's a name given to it. It's called the Iberian Peninsula. This peninsula is a mountainous region and has a history of being ruled by both Muslim and Christian religion, which is quite evident in their architecture, landmarks, and their regional food. Just to give you a quick understanding on how they were invaded, Christianity came from the north in the form of Roman rule. That's how Spain got the name Hispania. Then after Romans, Germanic tribe invaded the Iberian Peninsula, and finally in the 8th century AD, the Muslim rule came from south, that is from North Africa, by crossing the Strait of Gibraltar and defeating the existing German king. All throughout the medieval period, there was a constant warfare between Muslims and Christians, and by the mid-13th century, nearly all of the Iberian Peninsula was back under Christian rule. So this is how Portugal and Spain got the influence of Muslim and Christianity. Now in the 15th century, the entire Iberian Peninsula was under the rule of separate Christian kingdoms. The Kingdom of Castile occupied northern and central portion of the Iberian Peninsula. The Kingdom of Aragon occupied northeastern portion of the peninsula, where Catalonia is today, and the Kingdom of Portugal occupied the far western Iberian Peninsula. The ruler of the Kingdom of Castile was Henry IV, and he died in 1474. After him, his sister Isabella became the ruler. She married King Ferdinand II, who was the ruler of Aragon. Their marriage united both crowns and set the stage for the creation of the Kingdom of Spain. Although they were united, until the War of Spanish Succession in 1714, each region retained its own political and judicial structure. After that, the Crown of Castile annexed all of the Crown of Aragon by force, and that's how Spain began to exist as we know it. Since the mid-19th century, increased autonomy and independence have been a permanent source of tension between Catalonia and the Spanish government. Now let's look at it from the economic perspective. Catalonia is one of Spain's wealthiest regions, making up 16% of the national population and accounting for almost 19% of Spanish GDP. But there is a widespread feeling that the central government takes much more than it gives back. Now, I cannot tell you exactly how much more Catalans contribute in taxes than they get back from the investment, because you see the complexity of budget transfers makes it hard to judge. But then you see Catalonia is the most highly taxed region in Europe, and its public services are the poorest among other regions of Europe. So this is another reason behind the source of tension between Catalonia and the Spanish government. Now on the other hand, the Spanish Prime Minister, Mariano Rajoy, said that the referendum will only cause serious harm to Spain and Catalonia. And if you think about it, there is a lot of weight in the statement, because if you see, the establishment of a border would result in a loss of jobs, income, and wealth for everybody, whether they live in Catalonia or in the rest of Spain. With a new border comes new jurisdictions. There'll be a lot of trade and financial problems. Catalonia's 35% exports are to Spanish market. Then Catalonia would also have to pay to create new state structures like embassies, central banks, government buildings, etc., which again needs a huge public spending. The Spanish economy minister, Luis de Guindos, also said that Catalonia could see its economy shrink by 25 to 30% and its unemployment rate would double if it splits to form a separate state. Then Catalonia accounts for 16.34% of Spain's debt, which is not a small amount. This number, combined with the loss of Catalonia's tax revenues, would be a hit to the Spanish economy. Another important point is that if Catalonia plans to separate, then it will not have an automatic right to membership in the European Union, because in order to become a part of the European Union, it must receive a unanimous yes from European Union members, and that includes Spain and its allies, which are unlikely to vote for Catalonia's addition to the Union. And if the new country is denied a membership, then it will have to face a large transition cost. So these are some of the legitimate economic consequences behind forming a new country. And I believe it needs to be addressed because history has shown us that nationalism will pay any price for independence, regardless of the economic losses. And if you see, nationalism was an important factor in the development of Europe.